Well, welcome. I hope everyone rested well last night and is ready to kick off the forum today. I'd like to just take a few minutes to discuss the state of our sector with you and then turn it over to our esteemed panel this morning. It's going to talk about sort of our thought leader panel for the plenary. Household air pollution does not discriminate. It knows no one pair of lungs or home or community, border, country, or continent. And with the December 2012 release of the latest global burden of disease findings, household air pollution is taking an even more severe toll on human health and the environment than previously known. After high blood pressure, alcohol, and tobacco, it's the largest killer in the world, claiming 4 million lives annually. We know that many different women face the same challenges each day when it comes to the seemingly simple act of cooking or preparing a meal for themselves and their families. Smoke, burns, cataracts, coughs, injuries, attacks, not to mention the astronomical fuel cost. You name it, and the list goes on. The practice of inefficient and harmful cooking is a global problem from local activity that deserves a global response fed by local expertise. That global response, that local expertise, that's what the Global Alliance for Clean Cookstoves is, and that's what the Alliance is all about. It started from the Alliance's beginning, soon after our launch with Secretary Clinton in 2010. We convened over 350 experts, many of you in the room here, to analyze the problems of the past, identify the core areas that we needed to make progress in, and create a strategy to reach our ultimate goal of universal adoption by the year 2030. Igniting Change identifies a three-pronged strategy that we as a sector are taking for our collective efforts to create sustainable markets for clean cooking solutions. Since our launch, with the help, support, and expertise of all of you in the room, the Alliance and the sector have made significant progress in laying the foundation and building a structure by which we addressed and arrest the silent killer in the homes of more than 40% of the world's population. We know much remains to be done to raise awareness, to marshal resources, and put this issue on the map with other global development challenges. But it is crystal clear that the state of the sector is strong. Indeed, it has never been stronger. The Alliance's efforts have been divided into two distinct areas, and I'll first refer to our work to support market development and drive investment in the sector. This past year, the Alliance held almost 20 different stakeholder consultations in collaboration with our partners across Africa, Asia, and Latin America. A major outcome of these were the identification of 6 target countries for the Alliance's deep engagement over the next several years, with 2 to 3 countries that we're going to be adding as well. These 6 nations are Bangladesh, China, Ghana, Kenya, Nigeria, and Uganda. While these will be our target countries, the Alliance will be active in supporting interventions to catalyze markets in other partner countries as well. In fact, there's a lot of that that's underway already. Our market development efforts broadly can be broken down into 3 categories. First and foremost, improved understanding of the customer segments, their behavior and motivations and drivers for change. Second, encouraging innovation all along the supply chain. And third, scaling up existing enterprises through capacity building and increased financing. The Alliance's Pilot Innovation Fund was designed to jumpstart innovation approaches to strengthen supply and enhance demand along the value chain. Through a highly competitive process, I'm proud to announce the following award recipients for the pilot grants at this time. Greenway Grameen Infra in India, Improved Cookstoves for East Africa in Uganda, Potential Energy in Sudan, Solar Sister in Nigeria, Sustainable Green Fuel Enterprise right here in Cambodia, and Up Energy in Uganda. Congratulations to them all. To further scale our market development efforts, we need to actively drive investment into the sector. And it's wonderful that we have several investors who are participating with us in the forum this week. Investment in the sector has actually never been higher. In the last 6 months alone, from the information that we have, which I know is only a subset of the information out there, there's been at least $15 million in investment from the Soros Economic Development Fund, the Industrialized Fund for Developing Countries, OPIC, GE Capital, and the Calvert Foundation. And this doesn't include, from what we understand, to be $6 or $7 million more that's still in the due diligence stage right now. While impressive, we know these figures are not high enough to be able to service the many enterprises working in the sector or to truly scale towards a sustainable solution. The Alliance is focused on building greater awareness amongst the investment community on why cooking should be a front burner issue for them as well, and working with our donors to ensure sufficient grant capital to ready businesses in the sector for this investment. So it is through our Spark Fund that the Alliance will support scalable enterprises that pursue market-based approaches to enable them to enhance their scale, capacity, and outreach, and their ability to capitalize and leverage on additional resources. This was our first year with the Spark Fund. We received over 90 applications, shortlisted 15, and are now in final negotiations with 5 grantees that were vetted through a rigorous process overseen by a peer review committee of 6 global investors. We look forward to making those announcements shortly. We are also trying to find additional support for the many strong proposals that reached the final stage but didn't qualify for the limited pool of funds we had within Spark. Now, we are committed to having a Spark facility annually, so please look forward to round 2 and stay tuned for that as we'll announce that round 2 this coming September. In addition to these direct market-enabling activities, the Alliance is also involved in a series of what we call global interventions across research, standards, testing, partnerships, and more. Research continues to be critical, because additional research will underscore both the problems of inefficient cook stoves and the promise of cleaner and more efficient solutions. And the Alliance has been active in supporting ongoing research efforts, commissioning its own to fill certain gap areas, and growing the base of researchers and institutions interested in our issue. To date, we've commissioned over 6 studies on the link between clean cook stoves and child survivals, analyzing unsustainable harvesting of biomass fuel and its impact on the climate, and the role cook stoves can play in the economic livelihood of women, and as well the role women can play in ensuring and growing sustained adoption. The Alliance has also played varying and supportive roles in major international research studies, including the Global Burden of Disease Update related to household air pollution, and the ongoing Kenya stove study. Some of you may have sat in yesterday for that update with WHO, CDC, and the Kenyan government. I won't get more into research here because in a moment we'll all have the opportunity to hear from one of the preeminent researchers in our field, Dr. Kirk Smith of UC Berkeley. A critical factor in driving increased investment to the sector is the creation of global standards. In close collaboration with the Partnership for Clean Indoor Air, the Alliance has been working with ISO to create a process of the first ever international guidelines for clean, safe, and efficient cook stoves. In February 2012, more than 90 stakeholders from 23 countries gathered in The Hague for an ISO meeting that resulted in unanimous support among meeting participants for an international workshop agreement on interim guidelines. After careful negotiations with ISO to take things forward, we wanted to ensure that we were inclusive of all partner countries and not just existing partners of the ISO framework. And we've done that. So we're poised to move forward from interim guidelines to international standards. With the creation of these global standards, we need more and better testing centers around the world. The lack of cook stove testing capacity has been a gap in the sector and has prevented some products from performing well or really increasing the scale in the market. Recognizing this, the Alliance has provided funding to enhance 12 testing centers around the world across Africa, Latin America, and Asia, including one here right in Cambodia, and working with a large global network of testing experts. Now, in order to prove and showcase the effectiveness of any of these interventions, whether they're market-related or these enabling interventions, we will need a sound monitoring and evaluation system. We now have a 4-part monitoring and evaluation strategy, and I'm pleased to announce that just over the weekend, with the support of Infosys Corporation in India, the Alliance Results Reporting Survey for 2012 has now been released. It's on our website. Now, with any of these survey tools, we really need your help to be able to populate these so that we as a sector can talk collectively about the efforts in research, in design, in manufacturing, and in distribution. So please do go to the survey and fill that out so we have an accurate record of what's happening within the sector. Now, in addition to all of our market efforts, the Alliance is really committed to supporting the humanitarian sector, better meet the cooking needs of the over 50 million refugees and IDPs around the world. We are now actively working with manufacturers and relief organizations. There was another meeting yesterday here to ensure that large-scale operations during all phases of a humanitarian crisis are met to meet the cooking needs of those populations. Now, everything I've just described comes back to our public-private nonprofit partnership that's critical to move the sector forward. The Alliance would not be the organization it is today without the tremendous support and enthusiasm of all of our partners. From our launch in 2010, where 19 partners graced the stage at the Clinton Global Initiative, to today's figure of more than 650 partners, the Alliance has derived much of its strength and effectiveness from our partner engagement. Our initial fundraising goals were ambitious. We stated a goal of $250 million to raise for the sector by the year 2020, and we're well on our way with close to $30 million to date in funding for the Alliance and partners, and another over $100 million, actually close to 150, by the governments of the United States, Europe, Canada, and others, not to the Alliance, but directly to all of our partners around the world. It's clear that our partners are in this fight for the long haul. Many of our public and private donors are recommitting to the issue, and we're pleased to announce that there's several new partners who are joining by offering critical financial and in-kind support. Raising awareness of the issue and ensuring that it has the attention of policymakers, donors, NGOs, investors, and corporations will remain a critical function of the Alliance. We have tried to tell the story through articles in popular press, specialized magazines, engagement of our ambassadors. You heard Rocky yesterday evening, and we've got Julia Roberts and Jose Andreas on board as well. And leveraging the Cookstoves issue in line with other global movements like the Sustainable Energy for All Initiative and the Climate and Clean Air Coalition. You'll also hear tomorrow about the launch of the Alliance Chef Corps, where we have pulled together some preeminent chefs from around the world to be able to help tell our story. We are also pleased to announce that the Alliance in the last several months has developed a very strong Leadership Council and Advisory Council with some new members on board. We're very happy to count on the voices of Mary Robinson, former President of Ireland, on our Leadership Council, Gunilla Carlsson, who's a Ministry of International Development in Sweden. We have Michelle Bachelet, Executive Director of UN Women, Senator Saraki of Nigeria, Wanjira Mathai of the Green Belt Movement, as well as Stuart Pepperin from the Soros Foundation as well, joining our existing Alliance and Leadership Council members. Many of them have committed to this issue and for raising their voice on this issue as well. I know that for a while now, many of us have talked about the clean cooking sector being at a tipping point. Well, everyone, we've tipped. And we've tipped in the right direction. There's no going back to what used to be a disparate sector of admirable and well-intentioned but non-scalable and insular efforts. That's because we know how high the stakes are now. In a post-MDG world with a burgeoning economy that's given prosperity to hundreds of millions of people and allowed them to enter the middle class, we cannot allow billions more to cook the way their ancestors did since the beginning of human history. The state of the sector is that we're truly together in a way that we've never been before. We have a goal, we have a sense of purpose. We know that cooking shouldn't kill, and we now see the possibilities that lie ahead when the smoke clears. Thank you very much.